Hey, Young Life leaders and Young Life staff. My name is Ashley, and I am on Young Life staff in Bloomington Normal, Illinois. It is a pleasure to be with you wherever you are. Maybe you and your team are together. Maybe you're watching this on your own. I wanted to start off by saying thank you. Thank you for being in the world of kids this year. Thank you for being in the world of kids, however long you have been doing this. Thank you for showing up, even when showing up has become complicated. Contact work is really important in everything that we do, and I know that each of you are trying really hard to be with kids. In the beginning of John, he describes Jesus, and he says, "The Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us." In the Message version, Eugene Peterson says, "The Word became flesh and moved into the neighborhood." Our neighborhoods look a little different right now, but thank you. Thank you for doing that. So today I get to share with you a little training that is offered at the national level by Brian Summerall. And actually, you can watch his full training on the Young Life Access website. And if you need a link to that, you can ask your staff person or ask the region. Someone can get you a link to that. But it's actually a few days worth of training that Brian does. And so I'm going to take what he does, and I'm just going to take a portion of it and try to go through it as quickly as I can. And I will also be able to give you some examples of what this looks like here in Bloomington Normal. This training has actually impacted everything that we do in this area. Young Life Club at Normal Community High School started because of us looking at Brilliant at the Basics and implementing it into that school. So that's what I'm going to talk about. It made a difference for us. I know that it will make a difference for you. I know that this is long, but grab some snacks. Please take notes. This could change what your ministry looks like and how contact work really changes the game for you. Instead of all of the hours, I'm just going to take the 8 basic points that Brian lays out for us, and those are his 8 ministry strategy core values for everything that he does. There are 3 things that Brian thinks about for each non-negotiable, and those 3 things are ownership, vision, and contact work. Everything he does, we think about ownership, vision, and contact work. Everything is about the why, not the what. So you might hear some specific things that we do here in this area that also would be similar to maybe some of the things that Brian talks about. But what we really look at is the why. Why do we do what we do? The what is interchangeable. It might be t-shirts, it might be lanyards, it might be the photo club at school, it might be coaching. The what changes, but the why. Contact work, being with kids, being a part of the school. And so knowing your why really is the most important thing. So you want to remember that. Ownership, vision, contact work, and then know your why. The what is interchangeable. So the first non-negotiable is summer camp is the beginning, not the end. Sometimes we think about summer camp being like that's it. That's the end of the ministry year. And that's kind of true, but what you want to think about is what if summer camp was the beginning? We tell our leaders summer camp is 3 weeks long. Well, not being at camp, but the actual process. Like, we take kids to camp for a week, we do 2 weeks of follow-up that leads to school starting. And so the first thing I think about when I say that out loud is 3 weeks. Actually, that's like when we take a break from kids. And I would encourage you to think about how do you create space and a break for yourself and for your team outside of the summer. And so because we typically go to summer camp mid-July, end of July, and it leads to when school starts. We actually give leaders time off. Starting the second Monday in December, we have our camp sign-up night, which leads into Mr. Christmas Tree, and I'll talk about Mr. Christmas Tree at the end of this. But we actually take that second Monday, that's the last thing we do, the second Monday in December, and we won't start meeting until the first week of February. Our first club of second semester might not be until the second week of February, because we'll meet with juniors and seniors the very end of January or that first week in February. And so we really try to give a break there, and then we also stop the second week in May. And so that doesn't mean leaders stop talking to kids. The great thing about the Christmas time spot is that basketball is just kind of starting, kids are on Christmas break, or they're back in school, and it gives you more opportunities to just go and meet new kids. Go and be in places that you're not normally in. Go and not just hang out with kids that you already know, but maybe grab a couple kids that you know, and there might be a holiday basketball tournament happening at your school. And so just go and do that. It really provides space and opportunity outside of programming. So summer camp is 3 weeks long. At summer camp, we go to camp and there is a day 7 meeting or a day 6 meeting, or this summer they might call it a day 5 meeting. This last summer I took kids to camp and we called it our day 4 meeting. Last day camp, have this meeting. It's the most important meeting you will have all year. And you'll want to take time in May to plan this meeting. I'll attach a copy of what you can include in your day 7 planning meeting. It's all on Brian Summerall's website too. And so you can have that. I've taken that and I've modified it to what we do at our day 7 meeting. But that meeting is really important. The first year I went through this training, I didn't have any kids signed up for camp. I did the training in May, and Brian said, your school year starts with summer camp. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to go another year without having Young Life Club at this school. And so I wrote down, Ashley, pray that there would be a handful of kids that trust me enough, you enough, to go on a trip with you. I wrote that. Ashley, pray this. And that's what I started praying for. Lord, are there 5 kids that would trust me enough, a handful, to go on a trip with me this summer? And so I had been coaching at that time. We had been doing contact work at the school for a while. So there were kids that I knew, but it was just like, who's going to go on this trip? Nobody knows what Young Life is in this town, at this school. How's this going to happen? So I prayed that, and June went by. Nobody had signed up. I'd been asking people, and then the first week of July, 1 kid said they would go, and then they signed up. Then we had 3, and that summer from Normal Community High School, we had 6 girls go to camp, and 3 of those girls graduated, so they were seniors, but 3 of them would be coming back to the school with me. Those 3 were able to see that they could be a part of something way bigger than themselves. Those 3 that week turned into ownership, vision, and contact work. Those 3 girls, well, all 6 of them, none of them had ever been to anything Young Life related at that time. And so then, we'd gone through the week, and I'll share a little bit more of what that week kind of looked like for them. But we'd got through the week, and then the day 7 meeting happened. And at our day 7 meeting, I give everyone a notebook. Just a regular, has lines in it, super small. I guess it would be moleskin, but, we get it off-brand. Buy a bunch of them. And I give every kid one of these. And inside of it, when they open it, in the front cover, this is taped right in the front. And I can send you a PDF file of that. And it has a QR code on it. This is the Bible reading plan that we do with kids when we get back. And it takes them to the Young Life screen on the YouVersion Bible app, and it has the Bible plan on it. And so when kids get their phones back, I ask them, like, hey, click that, and then you can download it. And then there's actually a devotional that they can do on their way home from camp. It's like created in a 5-day format, but in it says, do all of these on your way home. And I encourage kids to use this notebook to take their notes in. And then I have paper clipped a schedule of the next 2 weeks right inside of this notebook. And it has their whole schedule for the next 2 weeks of things that we're doing. When we meet in the mornings for the devotional, we call it morning starters. And so those dates are in there. The times are in there. We meet at 10 a.m. Throughout the week. We do a reunion. And so that is in there. They know all of the things that are happening right from this. And that happens at the day 7 meeting. I get to talk to them about, who do you want to be known for? We read, and this will be in your document file too, we read something called Pray Big Things. And it's about these 2 work crew kids that had interacted with Jim Rayburn, and they were working at a camp next to Frontier Ranch, and it was before it was Frontier Ranch, and those 2 work crew kids prayed that Young Life would get Frontier Ranch. And it's a great story, and it's these 2 kids that prayed big things, and Frontier Ranch is now a Young Life camp. And you don't have to be at Frontier Ranch to read that story. Kids just experienced Young Life camp, and you get to talk about, like, man, 2 high school kids prayed that places like this would exist, and you just had one of the best weeks of your life. What would it look like for you to pray big things? And I'll ask them, are you praying little things, or are you praying big things? Not that the little things don't matter, but what would it look like for you to be praying something big for your school, something big for your community, and something big for your life? And so we read that together at the day 7 meeting. And so it launches us into the year. They know exactly what is happening. Number 2. Number 1 was summer camp is the beginning, not the end. Number 2, give kids a reputation to grow into. Help kids see what they cannot see themselves. We get to cast vision in kids' lives. We get to tell them who they are. We get to hold a mirror up to them and say, this is who you are. And we get to help them live into that. And so right now, think about this. What has the Lord given you right now? Is that 3 kids? Is that 10 kids? Is that 25 kids? What has the Lord given you right now? And what does dreaming with kids look like for you? What does it look like to let those kids know your dream? What is that dream? What's that dream for your team? And how do you share that with kids? How do you pull the curtain back for a few that you walk alongside of? How do you move kids from spectators to participants? On that first camp trip, there was a girl that went with me. She was the first one to sign up. Her name was Grace. And Grace, actually, earlier that year, had told me she wasn't religious at all and was really interested in the Young Life summer camp trip, but probably wasn't going to go. And she ended up going. And that first night, we were at club. Actually, before club. So the bell rings, and the kids I'm with are like, what do we do now? And I'm like, well, we're going to go to club. And they're, what's that? Oh, okay. So I kind of explained to them, like, we're going to go into this building, and it's going to be fun, but there's going to be a time where we're going to sit, and someone's going to tell us about Jesus, and then we're going to go to cabin time and get to talk about whatever we heard at club. So like, oh, okay, cool. So they notice like all these kids are running towards the club room, so they like start to run towards the club room, and then the music starts and the doors open, and these girls like run in with everyone else, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like they're excited, and I just remember being so nervous, like the whole 9-hour drive up there with them, and just being like, they have no idea what they're getting themselves into. And so they like run in, and we had entered club, and a song is just playing. It's not like, the band's not playing, it's just a song is playing, and everybody's jumping around, and the guys right in front of us are just like going nuts. And their leader is just doing a really great job of like building that energy with them. And Grace looks at me, and she's like 6'2", and I'm 5'2". So she like leans down and she's like, Ashley, can we do this at home? Yes. Oh my gosh, Grace, we could do this every week at home. And she looked at me, she's like, really? And I was like, I like asked her, I was like, do you want to do this together? And she was like, absolutely. Club hadn't even started yet. And she was already wanting to be a part of something bigger than herself. All I had to do was say, would you do that with me? I could have just come back and done it on our own, like our team could have done it, but to let Grace be a part of that was significant. At the end of that trip, it was before we had left, Grace goes, Ashley, I want to host the first club in my basement. And I thought, well, you're going to have to talk to your mom about that. And I knew her mom, and I was like, I don't know if Krista's going to want a bunch of high school kids in her basement on a Monday night. But Grace was set that she was going to host the very first Young Life Club that happened at Normal Community High School. And the week before, I'm going to show this picture, the week before, this was the paint war. And this was mind-blowing. I remember standing there with Grace, watching people. Everybody was wearing a white t-shirt, and it was getting dark when people were showing up, and so all you could see were these white t-shirts continually showing up, and Grace was counting, and at the end of the night, she just was like, Ashley, that many people aren't going to fit in my basement next week. And I was like, great, that's a good problem to have. And she was like, but I want more to come. And that's what happened. This next picture is that first picture of club. It's, corner of it. But Grace got to be a part of something just because a leader had allowed her to have a reputation to grow into. Number 3, know your why. When you know your why, your what has more impact, because you are working in or towards your purpose. Everything changes when we know our why. What is your why? Why are you doing this? What is your team's why? Maybe share that with each other. Why? Why do we do contact work? Why do we do club? Why do we do these things at club? Why do we do these things at campaigners? We have all these things that we do. Why? Why do we go to summer camp? Why do we think about doing a fall weekend? Why do we do a bus marathon? Whatever it is, ask why. And being able to identify that. We do a pre-club planning meeting before the year starts with juniors and seniors. This is after we get back from camp. We have a pre-club planning meeting, and it happens a week after our legacy meeting. And we ask at the legacy meeting, who should be here? Okay, bring them next week. And so next week they bring these people, and literally at this meeting, all we do is we pull the curtain back. We talk about club, and we go through the whys of everything we do at club. We share stories, and we continue to pull the curtain back so kids are able to see the whys of the elements of club. 4, Young Life should be in the heart and fabric of the school. We want everybody to know about it. We want everyone to know that they are invited. And honestly, maybe some of you know what it feels like, I know I do, of being invited somewhere and then showing up and quickly realizing, oh, I was invited, but I'm not welcome. And so we talk a lot about, with our junior, senior leaders and our team, we don't just want to invite kids, we want to welcome them. So how do you welcome your friends? How do you welcome that kid that you invited that's in your math class? What does that look like? Well, Young Life being in the heart and fabric of your school, that takes time. And it takes creating a culture. They say that to create a culture, it takes about 18 months. And so that's some time. You can't give up on it. You want to continue to put yourself out there into the school, into the lives of kids. Think about ownership, think about vision, and think about contact work. I would say don't do it if it doesn't include those things. One of the things that we do is there's a store at the school that is open during lunch. And we, as a team, were like, we go to games and we go to after school activities. And that's great. We meet a lot of kids that way. But we want to meet kids that are at school all day that we aren't going to meet at those places. And so we found out that there was this store happening. And the reason why we wanted to work that store is because we wanted to be in the school and meet kids that we wouldn't meet at extracurricular activities. And so I found out that the PTO is in charge of that store, and I reached out to them, and they were so glad that people were willing to give up a couple hours in the middle of the day to go and sell candy at this store. And that was a way that we were able to be a part of the fabric. We do t-shirts, and so that is a way that we're part of the fabric. But the reason why we do t-shirts is because it's contact work, getting together with a group of kids, planning the shirts, picking out the color, getting them the shirts. Everything is contact work. And then when kids are wearing them at school, kids are knowing, like, oh, Young Life is a thing. We're seeing these things happen. Coaching. Coaching is a great way to be a part of the school. It's a great way to be a part of the lives of the kids. It's a part of being a part of the fabric. You can tutor. You can be a cafeteria monitor. But why do you want to do that? So what does it look like for Young Life to be in the heart and fabric of your school? Number 5, kids make room for what they own. We need to stop blaming kids for being too busy, for not wanting to do anything. Why do we make excuses? I would say that's more on me than it is on them. Yes, they are busy and they are involved in all of these things, and they have obstacles that get in the way, but they make room for what they own. And if we're willing to break down the obstacles that are in the way for them, kids are producers of change. If a kid their car breaks down and they can't make it to the junior senior planning meeting, what does it look like for our team to make sure that that kid gets picked up to be at our junior senior planning meeting? Maybe that's how parents get involved for you. Maybe that's how your committee steps in. What are the obstacles? How do we eliminate those obstacles? Kids are producers of change, and are we providing kids opportunities for outreach? Are we doing this for kids, or are we doing this with kids? It's way more fun to do this with kids than it is to do it for kids. We have a junior-senior planning meeting that happens twice a semester. And at these planning meetings, our teams we help the juniors and seniors a lot in planning these meetings. Our leaders will bring ideas. We'll bring mixer ideas. Like one year, I remember a guy said, "Oh, we should play musical chairs," and I kind of laughed, and I wrote it down on the whiteboard and was like, "Musical chairs." And one of my leaders was like, "Ashley, we should do Shuffle Your Bum." And they, none of the kids knew what that game was. But I was like, yeah, that's my favorite game. And so, let's do Shuffle Your Bum. And the kid was like, oh, what is that? And I was like, well, it's essentially musical chairs. It's just a little different. And he's like, oh, great, let's do that. And so, we get ideas from them, but we plug and play. Or we'll give, mixers, and they'll be like, oh, yeah, let's do that one at that club. Because this is what is happening that week. And so we want that to be a part of it. They'll say, well, what about a hoedown? Can we do a hoedown? And so we'll look at it and be like, okay, what time of year do we want to do that? And so our team will plug that in, and we'll pretty much plan the hoedown and have them be a part of it. But we do those meetings so that they get to talk about what are we going to do. What music do we want to play? What songs do we want playing in the background? Are these songs, do these fit everybody? Does someone hear music that they know, that they like? How do we make sure that we are helping our teams be able to ask kids those questions? They know. They know what people are listening to. They know what's fun and what they want to do. My favorite thing is to let kids do the skits. We do a run-on skit that happens before our pull-up game. So, a game where you get 5 kids that play that game. It's so easy and fun to get 2 kids that do the run-on. And so me and another leader will meet with a couple of kids and we'll write lines or we'll use the program that happened at camp, and we might change a few of the words or change what their characters are, but essentially use what happened at camp. And I mean, maybe you're really funny and maybe you love doing skits, but I think that kids doing that is way better. It's way more funnier when their peers see them up front doing it. They get to do it a few weeks in a row. It's just ownership. It's vision. You get to help a kid. We'll talk about, with the people that are doing run-on skits, we'll tell them why do you do certain things. We'll talk about, when one contestant, when one kid competing in the game loses, what does it look like to go up to them and ask them their name and then cheer for them? Yeah, that's great. I can do that. But what does it look like for a senior guy to do that? It's way funnier. It's way more fun because it's also contact work with them. What that means is then they're at my house practicing that skit for 2 hours. I order a pizza. We're hanging out. It's me, them, and another leader, and that's contact work. The memories that are made because of those run-on skit characters have been obstacles. They've eliminated obstacles that have gotten in the way of being able to talk about the gospel. We've had kids that have been in the run-on skit who then later, in a couple of months, decide to start a relationship with Jesus because it was more time that they spent with a leader. It was us relationally getting as many kids possible through the door, then creatively clearing the path for the gospel to be heard. And so that is a piece that we do of allowing kids to have ownership. I want you to write this down. Who is your heart beating for to join you? Who are you going to ask? And spend time praying about who that is and praying for them. Who could join you in doing this? Who has the Lord given you? Number 6, love kids enough to have a plan. Not an agenda. We love kids without an agenda. But to have a plan for their life. to have a plan for them while they are in high school. Yeah, they go to summer camp. Great. Let's not take them to summer camp again the next year. Let's give them something more. There are so many other opportunities for them. Are we sending them to summer camp every year, or do we have a plan? And then, do we invite them into that plan? So that plan doesn't just stay here. We tell them the plan. We take them to camp, and then we dream with them about a discipleship trip. We dream with them about helping them fill a cabin for camp in a couple years. We dream with them about what it looks like for them to do work crew. We dream with them about a backpacking trip or an adventure trip with them and their friends. We dream with them about what does it look like for them to do the student leadership project. We give them a plan. There's way more. We don't keep it a secret. At that first legacy meeting with juniors and seniors that happened, I actually tell them all of the options. Yeah, we just went to summer camp. Next year, we're going to have junior girls do a Young Lives childcare trip. Next year, we're going to have junior and senior guys go on an adventure trip to Pioneer Plunge. We're going to have senior girls and senior guys go on a backpacking trip at Northbound. I just tell them, yeah, we don't have our spots yet, but you can request those. And those trips you can get. I tell them about work crew. I tell them who I want to do work crew. And they start applying. And we know. We have a plan for them. Why keep that plan a secret? Love kids enough to have a plan for them. There's way more. Number 7, dream big dreams and pray big things. The first year, we had taken that group of girls to camp. We'd gotten back and we had campaigners. I asked those 3 girls that came back, I said, we're going to start girls campaigners. Are there a few friends that you would want to invite to that this summer? We'll end that way. And so that first campaigner meeting, 10 girls came. And so those 3 got to share with those 7 what they had experienced at Young Life Camp and what they've been experiencing through their relationship with Jesus. And so then we told them we're going to have a planning meeting for juniors and seniors in a week. And so those 10, 16 kids came to the next planning meeting. In that planning meeting, I kind of went through the same thing and told them, this is what we want to do, and gave them the calendar, like we're going to have this paint war, and this is when our first club is going to be. So with 16, then the next week, 60 kids showed up to this planning meeting. And I remember being there with another leader. It was like chaos, and we didn't get anything done that we wanted to do, and it was fine, because really, we just hung out with kids, and that's really what we wanted to do. But there were only 2 of us there, and there were 60 kids, which was total chaos in this basement. And, at the end, I just, turned music on, and kids were just dancing, and then, me and the other leader were able to, connect with kids that we knew and kids that we didn't know. And so then we were like, okay, everybody has to leave, because it was getting late. And people didn't know what Young Life was, and I was like, okay, we need to have a parent meeting, because all of these juniors and seniors are coming to these planning meetings and are committing to being a part of this. And so parents need to know what are my kids giving up all this time for? So me and the leader go to the top of the stairs, and kids are leaving, and we're giving them high fives. And one of the guys, Zach, who was a sophomore then and is now a senior, literally looks at his friend Carly and is like, that was the best night ever. And me and the other leader, we literally looked at each other and laughed, because we were like, that was a meeting. I gave them note cards, they were writing things down, they were turning things in, and he just thought it was the best thing. I mean, we did a mixer, and that was it, I think, and talked, and I gave a club talk, and we looked at each other, and I was like, well, we need to have a parent meeting. So then I talked to this couple that's on my committee who had kids that went through Young Life in a different area and asked them if they would host this parent meeting. And so then I'm at their house and all these parents show up and I'm kind of telling Troy, like, hey, this is kind of what's been happening over the past couple of weeks. And Troy looked at me and he goes, well, you got what you prayed for. And that's true. I mean, in our area, we were praying big things and we wanted big things to happen. And so we prayed for it. And we had other people meeting and praying for it every week. And we got what we prayed for. Not saying that that's what happens, but when you dream big dreams and you pray big things and you're faithful and you're obedient, the Lord is going to do what he wants to do. And we get to be involved in it or not. And so what does it look like to pray big things and dream big dreams also with kids? At that day 7 meeting, I had said we read Pray Big Things with kids. And I asked them that. Are you praying big things? What would it look like to pray for your whole school? Okay, we had this many go to camp this year. Well, can we start praying for this many next year? Okay, our campaigner group has this many people coming. What does it look like to pray to impact these 3 other friends in my life? How do we do that? Are we giving kids an opportunity to dream big dreams and pray big things? At our first Monday of school legacy meeting, we read the Burr Nichols story. And after reading that, we have kids write down names of people that they want to be praying for on the back of that. And I, started off by saying, write down some friends that aren't here. And I had mentioned, that one guy that had come, praying for people that would never come. And then we stop and we pray. And a leader will open and I'll just say, say names. Say a few names from your list. And, it's quiet for a little bit, but then people just start saying names. We have kids write down names of kids that are at their school, and we give them opportunities to pray for them. We give them opportunities. I'll tell them, I'll have to find a bigger building. Let's dream big. Let's pray big things. And the last one, number 8, is lather, rinse, and repeat. Like I had said, culture takes 18 months to build. We have only been doing this for basically a year and a half. Last year, our semester was cut. And so we have only done some of the things a couple of times. But try it once and try it again and trust the process. If you just continue to go through these 8 principles and apply ownership, vision, and contact work to them, trust the process. So now what? You want to start with the ending. And so let's say that the ending is our first Young Life Club. So I'm going to show some dates in here. For us, our first Young Life Club will be September 27th, 2021. So then, the week before that, we have our Young Life Paint War. That will be September 20th. And this is great because it's just contact work, really. I mean, we get to run around wild with kids. And leaders, really, we like to split everybody up into different teams. And so freshmen will go together, sophomores, juniors, seniors. And we do that because then the leaders of the freshmen go with them, the sophomores. And so they really can, because it's overwhelming with everybody. And so just to be able to spread people out, and then they're on their own teams, and it gives leaders context for people that are in different grades. It's really helpful. And then also we have a senior share that night. That's the club talk. Senior will talk about Jesus. They will talk about what Young Life is for them, why Young Life Club is important to them, why they go to Young Life Club, what has the difference in their life been, why is Jesus important to them, and we just let them share. And it's great because their peers get to see them, and it is coming from someone that they know. So that's what we do. Then our second year, of doing this, we actually added this. We didn't do it our first year, but we added a freshman club, the club before the kickoff club. So the freshman club for us will be September 13th, and this will actually be almost identical to the kickoff club that is going to happen the following week. Our juniors and seniors are really in charge of the freshman club. They get to do everything. They'll give the talk that night. At the first club, we'll have a leader give the talk, but a freshman gets to give, senior gets to give a talk at the freshman club. All the skits, they're already doing that, so it's like a practice club essentially for the juniors and seniors. And so it's really great. This idea came from the fact that the school does a freshman orientation, and so why don't we do a freshman orientation to Young Life? And so at the freshman club, we'll pull the curtain back for them. We'll let juniors and seniors tell them oh, we stand up here, or oh, we do this, to kind of fill them in so that they know. And then it gives them something familiar. The reason why we do it the exact same is A, it gives us a practice, but then B, when they come, when everybody else is there, it's something familiar. It's something they've already done. And so they get to be a part of that. So the night before, September 12th, we'll actually do a run-through with music and sound. We want to make sure that the projector's working. We want to make sure that the speaker system is working. We want to make sure that that microphone we haven't used in a year works. And so we just do a run-through. The music team will work on stuff. The skit team will run through things. And we just want to set up the club room. And so it's ready for the next day. Move furniture, all of those things. And then it gives us time to pray with the juniors and seniors. And so we'll ask them questions like, why do we think freshman club is important? What was it like for you when you were a freshman? What do you think they're going to feel tomorrow when they show up? And how do we not only just invite them to this, but we welcome them? And so it's a great opportunity. So that the next thing is September 6th, which is Labor Day. We always do a Labor Day tailgate party that night. It's 7:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. And it's kind of like an open house thing. So kids can come and go as they want. And it's just a parking lot party. There's music, there's hot dogs and burgers, and there will be games, frisbees, bags, all of those things. And also, that's the first time our t-shirts are available. And so kids will come and they'll buy their t-shirts. We get parents to work the table. It's an opportunity just for us to be together and hang out and have some fun on Labor Day. And so we do that night. Then August 30th, we do our pre-club planning meeting before the tailgate party. We do that with juniors and seniors. We talk about how we invite people. What does it look like to walk up to someone and invite them to Young Life Club personally? We look at the flow of club, like I'd said. We talk about the whys, and like I literally say, what's the first thing we do? And really at that, when I say that, what's the first thing we do? So they'll say games, no, what do we do before that? And, I want them to say arrival, because for us, Young Life Club starts at 8:08 p.m., but we tell our juniors and seniors it starts at 7:45. We want everybody outside, out of the room at 7:45, because when kids show up, we want people outside welcoming them. When it's cold, we're just in whatever room we can be that's right inside the building or right inside the house. But we want club to start actually before everybody enters into the club room. And so then literally I say, what's next? Okay, why do we do that? Why do we do this? Why is there a slow song here? Why do we do a mixer at the beginning? We want kids to know, oh, it's important that everybody's involved right away. Oh, it's important for me to know that who I invited, that's my partner during the mixer. Or it's important for me to know that I should wait until everybody else has a partner, and then I can grab whoever doesn't have a partner. Why? Because we want everyone to feel like they are wanted and they belong and they're welcome. And so we just get to do that with them at that meeting. Then August 23rd, maybe this is the first Monday of school for this year. I don't know. I'm guessing. But this is our legacy meeting that happens the first Monday of school. It's juniors and seniors, and we literally talk about what is your legacy going to be. I have them break up into small groups with leaders, and I have them answer these 3 questions. How did you hear about Young Life? Why did you come? What was it like when you showed up? So they split off into groups with leaders, and they talk about those 3 questions. And then I pull them all back together, and I ask them to share. And while they're sharing, if they say someone's name, I write down that name. And if they share someone's name, I say, do you remember how they invited you? And they talk about that. And then later that night, I will actually text the people that they had said out loud, and I will say, hey, this person said your name tonight. You made a difference in their life. You've left a legacy at Normal Community High School. Thank you. And then I will tell the group that's there, I say, in 4 years, what if someone says your name? What do you want to be known for? Do you want to be known for being really cool? Do you want to be known for breaking all these records at your school? Do you want to be known for, whatever? Or do you want to be known for changing someone's life? Do you want to be known for making an impact that is so eternal and forever? What if someone said your name in that? So we talk about that and what that looks like. Then we read the Burr Nichols story, the very first Young Life Club. I give everyone a copy, and the leaders read it out loud. I encourage kids. I'll give them pens. I encourage them to underline things as we're reading, things that stick out. And then we talk about it. I ask them to think about, who's the Burr Nichols in your school? What's your niche? And then I have them write down, like, kids that they know, that are their friends that don't come, people that are in their classes, maybe a locker, like, next to them. And then I'll say, like, okay, who's the kid that would never come? Write down their name. And then I have us pray, and I'll have them say names out loud. And I remember one year, this kid's name was said out loud, and I kind of, like, laughed under my breath because I knew who that kid was, and he is on a team that I coach, and he was a kid that, he was never coming. He would, like, vocalize that to his friends, and, the whole year went on, and he didn't go, and then all of his friends went to Young Life Camp, and they came back, and there was something about his friends that he wanted that. And so he showed up at the legacy meeting. And it was really cool because when we were reading the Burr Nichols story, I asked them what sticks out. And he had pointed out, in the story, it talks about how when Jim Rayburn started a club, 10 people came one week, and then the next week, after they had prayed, like 16 people showed up, and then, I don't know, maybe 50, and then maybe 70, and then I think it says the week before graduation, 117 kids were there. And this guy says, I don't know, he hasn't been to a club, he hasn't been to anything. He literally came to the legacy meeting and said he would never go to club the year before. And he says, I don't know anything about Gainesville, Texas in 41, but I do know, 117 kids, their school couldn't be as big as ours. We have 2,400 kids. So I don't understand or see why we couldn't have way more than that. And I just remember, wow, he gets it. This is big. And I remember making eye contact with a couple of his buddies and being like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe that he said that. And then it was really cool because he was a part of the run-on skit the next couple weeks, and then actually he was Mr. Christmas Tree, which I'll talk about a little bit here in a bit. But yeah, praying big things. August 16th, we do our back-to-school bonfire. Bring freshmen, just a time to be together, have some fun. August 9th, I'll grab coffee with senior girls and guys, and we'll just talk about club and leadership and what we see in them and the type of influence that we see that they have. And we'll nail down our t-shirt design, we'll pick colors, all of those things all together in person doing that. July 20th through the 4th, we'll do those daily devotions, the morning starters. We're always together 2 weeks, every day. You know, we just ate so many meals together at camp. Like, let's keep it up. Let's stay together. Let's be together. Let's help kids follow Jesus coming home. Camp is great, and it makes an impact, but there's more. How do you follow Jesus? How do you read your Bible? How do you spend time with him? That's what we do. We meet for 45 minutes. And then after, kids can leave and go eat lunch, or leaders can grab lunch with them, or they can hang out and play a game. July 19th will be our camp reunion. We invite parents. I actually have an email invite go out to parents when we're at camp so they know about it. And at the camp reunion, in the middle, I'll have 2 kids share about their camp experience. I'll have a guy and a woman, just share. And then I'll kick all the kids out, and the leaders, they all go outside and play, and then I talk to the parents, and I say, yeah, this is great, and the impact of this week was amazing. But if we want to continue to do what we do, and if we want to continue to grow at this school and in this community, we need your help. And so it's an opportunity for the committee to talk about what does it look like for adults to serve? How can parents help? What does it look like for parents to pick up kids, to drop them off at club? And so that's just a really good opportunity. Maybe our camp trip this summer is July 12th through the 16th. And then in June, we'll train leaders for camp. And then in May, we plan camp, we plan the follow-up, I order the notebooks, we set the dates, I make sure all the locations for the daily devotionals and the camp reunion are all set in May. Because then we can relax until it all kicks up. That's really it. I did say I would share a little bit about Mr. Christmas Tree. I know this is probably way longer than what they want it to be, but Mr. Christmas Tree is magical. I love it, and I have recently learned that kids love it too, because that guy that I had said, was a kid that would never come, and then he talked about, 117 with the Burr Nichols story, and so he had won Mr. Christmas Tree last year as a junior, and so what happens is the next year, whoever won the year before gets to host. And so about 4 weeks ago, well, I don't know when you're watching this, but early in November, he had asked me, like, Ashley, are we going to do Mr. Christmas Tree? And I was like, I don't, not in December. And he was like, I really hope we do it because I get to host. And I know that I get to spend a lot of time with my leader while preparing for that. And if I wouldn't have been standing with a bunch of people, I would have cried. Because that's why we do Mr. Christmas Tree. We do Mr. Christmas Tree because it's a leader hanging out with kids, preparing for the event in and of itself. And so each grade level, the sophomores, the juniors, and the seniors, freshmen are judges, and so freshmen just get to make gingerbread houses with their leaders or do something fun while everybody else is meeting. So it's the sophomore girls and the sophomore guys with their 2 leaders preparing the one person, the one guy that they pick to represent their class. They all get together and they make sure that they have their night planned. They know the skit that they're going to do because there's a talent portion. So what is that? Or is he going to sing a song? Or is he going to do a dance? And so everybody gets involved, and it's a leader hanging out with kids. So we do a talent, and then there is a swimsuit portion, and that's the more clothes, the better points, and the most creative you get, the better points. And so it's not, a guy walking out in a Speedo. That's not going to happen because a leader had met with them and had designed their outfit with them. And so the leader knows exactly what they're going to wear. Then we do an interview, and so we give them the questions ahead of time. So the leader meets with the kid, and maybe some of his friends come, and they come up with creative answers. And the leader really helps the kid, we want him to shine, And so the leader really helps. And then the last portion is the parade of trees, which is crazy, but it's very magical. And so each class gets to design their Christmas tree. And the more lights, the better. So what I do is we cut off the branches of the back of the tree, and beforehand we have our camp sign up night before Mr. Christmas Tree happens. And so kids come before and they stand in line. And then there's time between camp sign up night and Mr. Christmas Tree. And so that's when kids will really decorate their tree. And so at the end, that's the last thing. So we'll duct tape the tree to the kid and does a catwalk, and then we plug them in and it lights up, and all three of them are standing there lit up, and it's really great. And then myself or another leader gets to get up and share the greatest story ever with kids, and not just kids, because the freshmen, I said, get to judge, but also parents. So, the junior class really wants their parents there because they're going to vote for their guy. And so kids are getting their parents there. We ask our committee to come. We ask people from the school to come. And so we not only get to share the gospel with kids, but we get to share it with their parents and with the community. And yeah, it's really beautiful. There's more information about that as well online. And you can contact me in April sometime if you want about anything I just said. But yeah, thank you for everything. Yeah, keep crushing it with kids. I don't know how you're doing it, but everybody's hanging in there and in it for kids. So thank you, thank you, thank you.